$126 million more than you used to have. What would you do with that? Well, Georgia's going to have to figure that out because them and everybody else in the SEC and the Big Ten have got that problem. $126 million more revenue from the college football playoff headed to SEC and Big Ten schools. It's not shocking, it's not surprising, and it was one of the few things keeping this thing afloat was making sure that the schools that are actually going and winning these are getting compensated for it. The On Friday, college football playoff, the presidents of the universities that are in it all agreeing to some new numbers, and I want to try to show you them on the screen. I'm not sure if I can pull that part off, but I can tell them to you right away. Nope, I can't show them to you on the screen. I'll do my best. So right now, all the schools in the college football playoff, all the schools in the conferences, they're making $5.5 million a year off of that. Now that's a lot of money. People say, "Well, look, that's a lot." Starting in 2026 for the 2026 season, so we're coming into 24 and 25. Those are going to be 12-team playoffs. I'm not aware that the numbers are going to change a lot there, but starting in 26, ACC schools will be getting $13 million a year. Big 12 will be getting $12 million a year if you're a school there. And then SEC and Big 10 schools are going to be getting at least $21 million. I've seen different reporting on this. One said 22, one said 21. So all of my math is based on that. That means every single year, Georgia is going to make $8 million more a year than Clemson, than Florida State, than Georgia Tech, than Louisville, than Wake Forest, than Boston College. That also means that Vanderbilt will be too. And over the long term and the long haul, this is where the problem adds up for the ACC and everybody else. The SEC and the Big Ten will be getting $126 million over 6 years. The ACC will be getting an ACC school will be getting $78 million. Now, that's more than double what they're getting now from the college football playoff. So that's a pretty significant chunk of change that you're getting if you were at Florida State and you had, financial problems in the recent past. That's a lot of money if you are Clemson and you're in really, you don't have financial problems, or you're North Carolina or whoever. The problem is they're getting $50 million fewer than their direct competitors. So, what can South Carolina do with $50 million more in 6 years than Clemson? They can do a lot. They can do a lot more. They can hire better coaches. They can have better facilities. When this comes down to, some sort of compensation for players, they will have double the amount that Clemson will have. So you see why Florida State is losing its minds. The other thing to add here is, let's just leave this in the SEC. $126 million, you can build a new basketball facility for that. So if you are Alabama or, we know Georgia's not going to, that's pretty clear. But if you're Vanderbilt will never do it. That's a bad example. But if you are Mississippi State, or if you are, Alabama, or you're looking at something new and you're, trying to figure out what to do at Florida, like there are plenty of schools that don't have great facilities in basketball. $126 million solves that problem very quickly. The other thing too that this gives you the ability to do is you can go to the bank and get all $126 million right now. You can issue bonds right now saying, hey, we have an agreement and, we want 126 is more valuable to us right now than it will be over a 6-year period. I mean, you can do that. That gives you just so much flexibility in terms of what you can do, how you can structure things. Do you want to fire a coach? Well, you just got, in the case of Georgia, $21 million more a year than you used to have. Let me fill you in on a secret. That was the SEC's media rights revenue not that long ago, was about $24 million a year. Now they're just getting $21 million from the college football playoff, which is just hemorrhaging money left and right. This is a $1.3 billion contract with Disney through ESPN. And, I mean, college football is the biggest thing in the country that's not the NFL and not the NBA. And it's coming closer and closer to NBA's situation. It's not as valuable, but it's close. And, all told, uh, this is becoming really large. I mean, this will put Georgia's budget over $200 million, no problem. And there's not a lot of companies. There are plenty of companies, but most companies in America are not $200 million budget companies. Most of them are not. Most of them are smaller than that, for sure. We're seeing more and more how much money is going into college athletics. And, so are the guys playing or the women playing. But there's no doubt that football is king. And this is coming from football. Will this lead to a day where we're only talking about the football schools, the SEC and the Big Ten just leaving? It's not getting us off that path. It's not getting us off that path. And I don't know. I don't think it's all bad. I don't know that, do we really need Georgia playing Vanderbilt? Well, apparently not, because they're not this coming season. Do we really need, Florida playing UCF? I don't think so, personally. And then it comes down to, do you really need Georgia playing Georgia Tech? There are people that are not in the SEC, that are not in, these are just like broadcasting people. They're just straight, they don't think that will happen in the future. They don't think Georgia and Tech will play one another. What makes college football great in many ways is the mess that it is. And that, you do have that happening. For decades, Auburn and Alabama didn't play each other in football. And for longer than that, you didn't have Auburn having a home game in that series. It was always in Birmingham. So there's all sorts of like intricacies and all that sort of stuff that's involved in college football that, if you only let numbers and so forth dictate, you will lose the sport. Like that would be like Kirby's been pretty adamant about, I really want Georgia, Florida, and Athens. Well, no one's listening to him on that deal because it's never leaving there. Now, if y'all think it is, why are they redoing the stadium? Why are they going to pay more money to Georgia and Florida? There's a very real possibility that game never comes back to campus. It's been there once in 100 years, or once in Athens in 100-something years. So this comes down to, in this case, the tradition. The money follows the tradition. If it went just home, there's no extra money for Georgia and the Gators. That's gone. Same thing for Texas and OU. So you're not going to see those games leave. This is all, this is a lot of part of it, is there is attraction to watch the big teams play one another. We don't see Ohio State play Georgia. We've seen it twice in 70 years, or maybe twice ever. I don't know. I mean, it was 1992 season and then 2022. That's it. We don't see Georgia play Michigan. Why? Just pause as an aside. Why do you think Clemson and Georgia are playing each other? Like, they're not playing each other on campus. They're playing each other so that they can get the money from the revenue from Charlotte and from Atlanta. I mean, that's what they're doing, because it does cost money to run these athletic departments. And now, $126 million over a 6-year period, that is a significant jump. If my math is correct, that is a $93 million bump from what Georgia was going to get. They have been getting 5.5 over this period of time. That's $33 million. That's not bad over a 6-year period. That's not even close to $126 million. So if you're wondering, why are things so nice at Georgia? Why are they? If y'all ever go to road games, I mean, if you've been to Kentucky in the 90s and you went to Kentucky today, they are not close. South Carolina was a pure dump. Williams-Brice was a dump. It's still got some work to do. It's not even close to being a dump anymore. Not close. You had to take your life in your hands walking on the sidewalk at Williams-Brice, okay? And sort of you still have to some degree, but it's way nicer around the stadium. You don't, when I say take your life in your hands, because the cars are driving so fast right next to the stadium. It's crazy. So all these places, if you go to Mississippi State, if you go to Ole Miss, if you go to, at Georgia and like Tennessee, y'all don't see the stuff we see. The underbelly of the stadiums are way nicer than they used to be. The at Vanderbilt, you're seeing it. You're seeing them building a legitimate football stadium at Vanderbilt. It's not just some place where, Tennessee and Georgia come to play every other year, and that's where you get the revenue from. If Georgia Tech had this revenue, it would be a different conversation for the Jackets. But they don't, and they won't. And you see why Florida State is so eager to leave. I don't blame them. But I would say this to Florida State and everybody else in the ACC. You had your chance to leave, and you didn't. And you, not just once, but a couple times, signed an agreement moving forward with the ACC network, which therefore pushed your contract to 2036. You chose this. And now everybody else is choosing this. Florida State, Clemson, they're going to get a pile more cash that they didn't have. And make no mistake about it. Getting about roughly $8 million more a year, that's a lot. That basically pays for your head football coach. And that other $8 million, you can do a lot with that. We're talking about $13 million total that you're getting now versus the 5.5 that you were getting. That's a lot of cash. That won't make up what the SEC and the Big Ten have got, but you're not in those leagues. And, just like, European football, you're just going to have to win on the big stages. And Clemson's done that. And Florida State did that, 10 years ago or more than that. But it's up to them to do it. And I don't see this as a bad thing, but it is a reality that everybody's going to have to get around. $126 million more. I think to some degree, I will add this. I will throw this in there for the schools. That would be problematic for me if I'm trying to raise a fair amount of money. I think now there will be an argument of, why do you need booster money? Why do you need my, let's just say you're doing a new gymnasium and, I know about this. We did this. Let's say your facility costs $12 million. Why do you really, and let's just extrapolate it, on out to $100 million. Ole Miss's basketball facility, their new basketball arena is really nice. I mean, it's nice. It was $100 million. It's exactly, if Georgia ever redid it, something, that would be exactly what it should do. Georgia's never redoing it. But my point is, it would cost you about $100 million. You got more than $100 million right there. So I do think the problem here is there's two. In the long term of the sport, are we just barreling towards the big schools just leaving and saying, Vanderbilt really does not deserve $126 million. Boston College, Vanderbilt, Wake Forest, Northwestern, I was about to say Nebraska, but like Illinois, they don't deserve $125 million just for getting their brains kicked in. That's A. And then you got B, which is, I do think donors will be like, why are we doing this now? You just got a $126 million, over 6-year pledge from the college football playoff. What do you need my, $500,000 for over 5 years? I think that's a question that's going to have to be answered. Thanks for watching.